Hello, welcome to the Big Bad Marketing Podcast. I'm Janae.
And I'm Brooke, and we are two entrepreneurs jumping headfirst into building a business.
We're marketers and we're content creators at heart. And in this podcast, we help small business owners learn how to play big with their marketing efforts, even on a small business budget.
So if you're ready to make big, bad moves in your professional life, this podcast is for you. This is episode 11, SEO Basics for a Small Business. So SEO, kind of buzzy, stands for Search Engine Optimization. So if you have a website and you've done any sort of digital marketing for that website, you have likely heard of SEO. You might not know how to do it, but you probably know that you need it. So if you've already started and maybe you're kind of not sure where to go from here, or if you're just at the starting line wondering how in the heck you're even supposed to figure out what a keyword is and how to work that into your site, that is what we will talk about in this episode.
Oh, yes. And it strikes me while you say that if you've just used Google, even if you don't know what SEO is or you've never heard of it, if you've used Google before, SEO has impacted you and it's playing behind the scenes on what shows up when you search for things on Google. So even if you're not running a business, this would be useful information to understand how the internet works.
Absolutely. And Google obviously being the dominant search engine in the industry, but there are others out there like Bing and Yahoo and DuckDuckGo and Brave. So there are other alternatives and other browser options. But for all intents and purposes, on this episode, we're going to focus on Google because that is the big one. And oftentimes, when you optimize for Google, you're kind of inadvertently optimizing for those other search engines as well, because all the algorithms are sort of doing the same things in the background. So you do it for Google, you kind of got yourself set up for success in those other areas as well.
Yeah. So if Google is the big one, how big is it actually? Do we have a way to quantify how big it is?
Yeah, so one thing I kind of want to address before we hop into it is I have had several people ask me recently, well, hey, isn't Google dead? Are people still using Google? Because a lot of, especially Gen Z, people are searching using TikTok or YouTube. So some of these queries that used to be flowing through Google are now going through these other social media channels. And while that is true, Google is still definitely the dominant player in this space. It gets about 8.5 billion daily searches. So that is certainly a place where you want to be showing up for your business and increasing the likelihood that people are going to find you when they do a more traditional Google search.
Yeah. So I think later we're going to talk a little bit more about how to determine if SEO efforts are important for your business. But on a surface blanket level, SEO is just important. And even if it's not your main strategy, it's always going to be helpful to take some SEO practices into account and start using them, even just simple ones, because of that 8.5 billion, right? Maybe yours is not the most ideal product or service to market directly and only through SEO, but it's not going to hurt.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with that more. So, Janae, when we talk about the basics of SEO, the foundation, the building blocks, keywords come up a lot. So, what is a keyword and how in the heck do I find what the keywords are for my business?
Okay, so keyword in its most basic form is going to be a short word that is relevant to what people search for when they look for your business. But behind that, it's going to be the key phrases of your business. So pull out those terms that are relevant specifically to what you do, what you sell, your service, your product, anything very closely aligned with the main intent of your business.
Yes. So to make that more real with an example, say that you are a plumber. So you're like, well, obviously, my keyword is going to be plumber. And yes, you're not wrong about that, but that's also a really popular keyword, and probably a lot of people are going to be searching for that. So, what we would encourage you to then do is expand on that to find more of what we will call long tail keywords, which are phrases that people might be using that also relate. So, you can have long tail keywords that are local. So, maybe plumbing services, Charleston, South Carolina. You can have long tail keywords that are a little more specific on how to do something. So DIY sink repair, or my sink is leaking, how do I fix it? And those are where people are more likely to go toward like a YouTube or another channel to search, but you can still rank in Google for that. Or thinking through different keywords that pertain to the types of services you offer. So maybe you are a plumber who obviously does sink repair, but maybe you also do new pipe installation. Maybe you install water heaters. So you would want to target keywords like local or water heater installer near me, something like that. So we can sort of think more broadly when we back it out from just your identifying job or how people would refer to you, but think about it in the context of all the various things that you do.
Yes. So you can come at it from two angles, which would be the general. So plumbing, plumber, local plumber, things like that. And then you can come at it from these more tangential pieces that are the services, the specific products you offer, the sink repairs, the toilet repairs, things that someone might actually be searching for to fix a specific problem versus the general high level. I'm looking for a plumber.
Yes,
Both are
exactly.
valid.
Yep, truth. So, how do we find keywords beyond just racking our own brains to say, hey, if I needed a plumber, here's what I would type into Google?
Sure. So there's a lot of softwares and tools that can help scour the back end of Google and other search engines to help determine what are people looking for, what words and long tail keywords are they using when they're searching for your product or your service, or your general business. And then you can also do some competitive research. So look at what other leaders in your space, whether those are local, other, to continue with this metaphor, local, what other local plumbers are doing and what types of services they're advertising online. And also the big guys, what are bigger, also competitive in your space, but bigger corporations and companies talking about, and which types of keywords and phrases are they using on their website?
Yes. So the tools that we use and kind of our preferred tool in-house at Big Bad Marketing is one called SEMrush, SEMrush. And so if you looked up your competitor's website in a tool like SEMrush, it would show you, hey, this competitor is capturing the search volume on these organic keywords, and they're showing up on page one for these queries, and they're on page two for these queries. And if you're not used to these tools, it can feel a little complicated and maybe a little bit overwhelming. You can obviously hire us to take that off your
I
plate if you are uncomfortable with that.
was
But
going to say, can you break that down a little bit more? So you just gave an example of you're capturing the search volume on page two. And for someone who doesn't know anything about SEO, they might be scratching their head and not sure what that means. Can you break that down and simplify it so anyone who's brand new to SEO can understand?
yes. So it is likely that everyone, unless you are under a rock without a cell phone, has Googled something in their lives, right? So when you Google something, you're going to see a number of results pop up on your page. And these have changed dramatically in the past couple of years as Google continues to enhance its platform and create new and better ways for people to connect with the things that they're looking for. And Google is very smart about that. So one of the things that Google has added, if you do a search for plumber and insert your town here, is Google guaranteed businesses. So these are companies that have been verified by Google. They have business insurance, they have a business license to operate, and Google has made these businesses go through several steps to qualify to show up in that Google guaranteed. Keep in mind that Google Guaranteed is also a form of paid advertisement on Google. So, for all intents and purposes, when we talk about SEO, we are talking about organic results, meaning that it does not say sponsored next to the result. So, that sponsored before anything you see in Google indicates that somebody has paid money, sometimes a lot of money, to show up in that space. So, take that for what it is, not to say that people that do paid advertising shouldn't be trusted or anything like that, because often paid and organic work together to build a comprehensive SEO strategy, but it's just sort of being able to look at the Google search engine results page or SERP and understand what is showing up. So you'll have your Google guaranteed results, you might have sponsored advertisements, and then you'll get down to what is referred to as the map pack. So the map pack is three businesses and a map that are going to show you, hey, these are sort of the top three businesses in your area. Now, those that show up in the map pack can be sponsored, I believe, but are not always sponsored, which again gets a little convoluted. But that is where you ideally want to show up for your business. And you can only show up there if you have a Google business profile, which is something that we will break down in a separate episode. But to get on the map pack, you have to have a business where you either have a physical office or you are going out and seeing people and they can come visit you at your office. Anyhow, moving on.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is there's sort of a hierarchy here. And what I want to get at is something really important, which whether you are a business owner and you're following this to understand SEO, or you're just a person who has ever searched for something on the internet, when you type something in, the list that comes up as the results for your search are in a very curated order. They're not random, and there's a very specific reason that they come out in the order that they do and appear specifically, because it sounds like what we're saying here is you have paid to be there. You have verified your business by completing a few steps. Or, and what I think the primary reason we're talking about SEO here is you have done a good job of organically optimizing your page and your website so that it does appear to Google's algorithm. So that's the main like deciding tool that's helping them determine the order of the results that come up. The algorithm has shown that you know what you're talking about and you provide valuable answers to people's searches. And that's where we would be thrilled to help you show up in the organic search, because we know how to tailor your website pages so that you're like, yeah, we know what we're doing and here's how we're going to help you. And we're going to provide really valuable content. Does that sound right?
Yes, spot on. And I think to even break it down simpler than that is the results you see are either paid for or they're not.
Yes.
So we are
Which
talking about
is
the
paid
not.
versus organic.
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
exactly. Exactly. So, like Janae is saying, the organic results are really where we live. So, when you show up in organic results, that is subject to the algorithm. So, we believe we know certain indicators that trigger the algorithm to rank you higher. So it's broadly broken down into three categories. So one of those is technical. So that is how quickly your website loads. If your page response times are slow, people are more likely to leave your page, or what is called bounce in the industry. So if your bounce rate is higher, indicating that your page has a higher, longer load time, you will be ranked lower in Google, we believe. In addition to technical, you also have authority, which means how many other websites are linking back to your website. So, did you get mentioned on the local news for the great work you're doing in the community? You might have earned a backlink to your website. Did you win a best of award in your local community? That might get you a link back to your website. If you belong to your local chamber of commerce, that might get you a link back to your website. But more than that, are there other organic websites like bloggers or people that just love your product that are linking back? And the more of these links that you have, Google looks on that more favorably.
So is it fair to say for that piece that backlinks are showing that you're credible and
Yes.
you're valid?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
And what's the third
definitely
piece here?
Yeah, definitely an indicator of credibility. And then that third piece, and where we really live, is your content. So, does your page not only list your target keywords, but does it provide helpful information for people to get what they need and to go deeper into your website? So, if someone does a search like, how to fix my sink that's leaking with the brand of the sink. And we happen to write an article on that and it lives on our website. What we hope will happen is somebody will click onto our website from an organic search result in Google. They'll stay there, they'll read the piece, they'll find it so super helpful that they then go to our blog to explore more pieces, or they check out our services page, or they subscribe to our newsletter. And the more time that they spend on our site, Google takes that as a positive indicator that they're having a good experience there. And in turn, they may rank us higher.
So all the clicking around and importantly, not clicking off of pages. So the not clicking around that you're doing as a user of the internet is all information and data that the search engine is collecting and then using to help understand which websites and pages are the most helpful for users. And it's adding that into the recipe with, just as you mentioned, like the page speed, if other websites are linking to you, reviews, things like that, all kinds of mentions of your business. It's all going into this big pot. And that's what Google uses to say, yeah, you can be number one on the organic search. We'll put you as the first result when people look this up.
Yes. So all of these indicators are super critical to your ranking. But to take a step back, you have to make sure that your pages are there in the first place. So that is a process called indexing. So say we create a brand new website today. In the next couple of weeks, likely, Google will crawl that website and see that it exists, and it will begin to index your pages so that you show up in search results. However, you can expedite that process. So this is all done through what's called the Google Search Console. We'll add a link to that in the show notes. And when you create a new page, you can basically send a message to Google and say, hey, I just created this page and I'd really like for you to go ahead and index it more quickly than your regularly scheduled crawl, because that's completely unknown. And if you have a smaller website, you are less likely to be crawled quickly. If the New York Times, for example, goes and publishes a new page, Google's going to crawl it like that, and it won't, they probably don't even have to request it because they're such a behemoth. But for you as a small business, it's really important that you submit that request to Google. So maybe that's an episode for another day. Don't want to go too deep in the rabbit hole on that. But those are sort of the core basics of SEO, where what we would like to emphasize is the creation of that good, helpful, quality content that revolves around the keywords that make sense for your business.
Yes. And there are a few even more basic steps you can take while you're building out your website for the first time, or if this is the first time you're reading and learning about SEO at all, things that you can go in, even as a novice, and make sure are set up on the back end of your website. So not the part that's appearing to the people, but the parts that Google can see, to ensure that Google knows what's up and is like, yes, this page. So I think we should go through a few of those now. What do you think?
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. So I think a first key piece is going to be the structure of your pages. So this is called meta content. And this is, let's say you're publishing a blog, right? This is where the structure of the blog, like an outline, or even like you mentioned, like the index of a book, it's going to help Google understand the layout of your page, what's most important. So where's the title? What is the description? What are the other key points within the article that we might call headings 1, headings 2, headings 3? And it's going to use those and put them into a reference to understand, are you addressing all of the concerns of your user? And it's not necessarily, while Google will be looking at all of the words on your page, as it's indexing and understanding the structures of your page and the metadata, it's not necessarily looking at every word, but rather those larger structures and outlines of your page.
Yes, an important point on metadata is you can think of that as like for someone who is using a screen reader to more easily navigate your website. So when, as Janae was mentioning, you have your heading 1, which is the title of your page. Then you have your heading 2, which is maybe your first point that you're making. So how to fix your sink. Your header 1, your H1, is going to be how to fix your sink. Your first H2 might be how to fix a sink that's leaking. Your H3 might be how to replace a part on your sink, something along those lines. So you're basically building out this structure for a an individual who needs to use a screen reader to be able to easily navigate and understand your page. So that's a way that I like to think about just ensuring that the navigation that you're inputting makes sense. And then those other meta elements, like we can also think about the photos that you use on a page, ensuring that there is appropriate alt text for your photos so that a screen reader could capture and explain to someone that needs to use that what your image is showing. So there are different types of meta text on the page. Some of them are more for SEO purposes, to be honest, but I like to think about it from the screen reader capacity when I think about how helpful it is for that end user.
Yes. And it's a reminder where when I was writing journalistic content for print, I could write tons of fun, cutesy headers within the outline of my essay, for example. And when you're writing for both Google and people on the internet, it's hard to be cutesy and rank. And that's a really fun, fine line to dance, especially as you develop some expertise in this area. But it's important that the title of your article accurately represents what the article is going to be about and captures those keywords or those queries that people are going to look for. So if you're writing an article about plumbing and fixing a broken sink, you want to address that right in the title. You don't want to say cute ideas for households and then the entire article is about fixing a sink, right? You want to be very clear. And while that sounds straightforward and obvious, it's a practice to put into place as you continue to develop content. It's not as easy as it sounds.
So, Janae, are you saying that all of my content, if I want to rank in Google, has to be dry and bland and use all these keywords? How am I supposed to allow my brand voice to come through?
You should hire big bad marketing to help you find that balance and touch those fine lines between adding your brand voice and capturing the algorithm accurately. But absolutely not is the answer. You don't have to be dry. You don't have to be boring. You definitely should not keyword stuff, which is a practice from an outdated practice from the 2000s of like shoving every keyword into your article so that it picks up the algorithm picks up like, oh, you have so many mentions of broken sink, it must be accurate. And it's no longer doing that. It's like, is this actually helpful? But absolutely, you can fuse those two things together for a really fun read, or depending on your business, right? A professional read, whatever your voice is, while still hitting the marks.
Yes, and you can also use creative elements like video or infographics or imagery to spice up your article. And Google loves those types of things as well. Google loves when you provide someone with a helpful video that is going to enhance their understanding and increase the likelihood that they're going to stay on your page. So you can always use your creativity in these different ways. And the way we like to think about it is you can be creative between the headers. Make your headers make sense for your query, but be creative in the in between. And you can use your brand voice to have that really fun, friendly attitude or that touch of humor that your customers are used to seeing. So it doesn't have to be completely dry. You can still make it on brand.
If you're looking for a good example of this, not to toot our own horn, but for real, we practice this on our website. Go to bigbadmarketing.com/blog and check out any of our blogs. What we've done is infuse our brand voice into the copy, so the paragraphs or sections of text. But look at the headers. All of them are going to include keywords or key phrases, long tail keywords, or the main points that we're trying to get at. So Google is like, oh, okay, this article actually is about business cards. It's not just about this like funny, haha, here's what to do when you're in a networking setting. It's both.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is that delicate balance, that fine line. And one of the things we would be remiss not to mention is don't do SEO for Google, right? Create your content because it is helpful and it is something that you want to put out for your customers. Because a lot of times when a brand says, I am just going to create this blog because I want to rank for these terms, it sort of ends up being this effort that they pour a lot of time and money and energy into. But if they're not actually creating helpful content and they're not getting backlinks, then it just decreases the likelihood that that's going to be an effort that's successful. So do I guess what I want to say is execute on your marketing strategy and your content strategy, but keep Google in mind.
Yes. And this is a really important dovetail into something that came up before that I want to mention, which is we're like, we believe these might determine where your rank is. And there's a reason that we're kind of unclear is because Google doesn't tell anyone what its algorithm is, right? There's no place to look up the secret recipe. It's just given us a few articles to help us understand how it's ranking the content, but there's no definitive, here's the algorithm we're putting it into and letting it spit out the order. We as marketers have to continually research and do a lot of trial and error to understand what gets promoted and what gets demoted or ripped off the search page. So as we're going about this, it's not because we are not informed, but rather it's because Google wants to make sure people are constantly striving to produce the best content. And it does that by ever changing that algorithm. So you will see if you look into this that the algorithm has evolved over time. In fact, I'm not sure that it even started with an algorithm as much as it was like, oh, someone talked about plumbing pipes, perfect. And that would rank number one. And over time, it's now become more and more refined, the process of determining who's going to rank. And so I think the single best piece of advice as you're creating content is to write the best possible content you can for a real person. And as it gets better, the robot algorithm will also understand that and be able to rank it in the top.
Yeah. Robot algorithm. Love that.
Beep boop beep bop
Oh, yeah.
SEO.
So, how do we know if we're being successful at SEO? What's the best way for us to check to know if our efforts are working?
A great place to start is going to be search the terms you're talking about in your content. So if you've been optimizing pages on your site for fixing broken sink or plumbing my broken sink problems, right? Search for those terms and see what comes up. Notice, just like we've talked about before, take a baseline. So today, before you start doing any edits to the page, search those terms. Find out which position, which number you rank in. Are you 30th? Are you on page 3, which maybe means no one's going to see you? Or are you in position 5? Right. And then as you make edits and you update your page to fit into these different practices, keep checking in. Did the page go up? Did it go down? Right. And then you keep iterating and doing that trial and error process to figure out how you can make it better. And that's so search engine optimization, SEO. That's literally the process, is just continuous optimizing of the page. Because in our previous roles, what we would do a lot of times is take existing pages, so pages that are already live on the internet in the wild, and they'd say, hey, this dropped in rank. It used to be in 5th position and now it's on 25th. And our job was to go in and see, okay, what kind of tweaks can we make to this page so that it goes back up to 5 and even beyond that? Maybe it ranks in position 2 next week.
Yes. And that is such an important point because this process is iterative. And just because you put something out there does not guarantee it's going to rank. And it doesn't guarantee that it's going to continue to rank as Google makes changes to its algorithm. So, measuring the success of your SEO program is definitely going to look like gauging where you are over time, the amount of organic traffic that's coming to your site, whether you do that through a tool like SEMrush or through a platform like Google Analytics, because Google gives you all of these support programs in the background to help you be successful. But ultimately, you might just need a second set of eyes to say, what are we missing here? What have our competitors changed? Maybe it isn't even something that you did, but maybe a competitor of yours went and refreshed their page
Mm.
and they added a video. And now you dropped it back in rank because theirs is just helping people a lot more than your page is. Another point that I definitely want to be sure to mention is you should have one search intent for your one page. So if we are talking about how to fix a sink, that page should be all about how to fix a sink. So if you have related keywords like how to fix a garbage disposal, you don't want to put that on your page about how to fix a sink. Instead, you want to create a new page called How to Fix a Garbage Disposal. And on that page, you walk people through all of those steps. You want to make it perfectly clear to Google what you're doing. And when you mix two or more search intents on a single page or two or more keywords that are not synonymous with each other, it just leads to confusion. And then Google isn't really sure what you're talking about. So keep it simple, keep it straightforward, one search intent per page, and you'll be on your way.
That is a almost biblical message that I took away from our time together in past lives, right? Is like make sure your page is only talking about one thing. I can't even list how many times I would get on a call with clients and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, this page about painting this. Can we also add topics about painting that and painting the other and painting this and how to do it and then when you should do it?" And it's like, sure, we could cover all of those things, but is that going to be the most useful way to capture the essence and the main point of one query? No, it's diluting the content, it's watering it down, it's making it confusing for people because they don't know if they're on the right page. They have to scroll around to find the specific area they're looking for. And it's making it confusing for the search engine platform to understand what is this page even about?
Yes. So, what we would recommend instead, if you do want to cover those other topics that have different search intent, is to create something that's called a content cluster. So, maybe you do how to paint a house. And within your cluster, you have how much does it cost to paint a house? What are the most popular colors for painting a house in Charleston, South Carolina? And then you link all these pages together in a way that Google understands not only are you an expert on how to paint a house, but you also offer help with all of these other things that are tangentially related. And you offer these sort of offshoots for people to go into to gather more information. So that's sort of something that we are happy to help you establish and perhaps warrants an episode all on its own.
Oh yes, as we're talking, I'm like, wow, there's such a vast world when it comes to the topic of SEO, and we could just go on for hours about this. So if you're a little confused or feeling overwhelmed by all of this, that's okay. That is a perfect place to be right now because let's go over a couple of like really easy ways to, as a novice, maximize your SEO power.
Yes. So some things that you can do, and again, Google offers tools. So one thing you can do is test your site speed. And if your site speed is rather slow, maybe that is an opportunity to bring in a web developer or other professional to teach you how to maximize that speed, make it more efficient. I'll be honest, some of the stuff that comes up with the more technical SEO is just over my head, and I have to consult professionals on this too, so it is not just you. But we'll put that site speed generator in the show notes as well. So that is sort of the one on the technical side of the house that you can do. And what about for the content, Janae?
Sure. So imagine you have a website, you've got like, here's the services that we offer page, you have an about us page, you have a contact form, right? Those are all great starting points. Another way to start seeping your way into the magical algorithm and showing up on Google is to do exactly what we're talking about with the keywords through blogs. So add a blog page to your site and start small. Start just adding the main services that you offer, like we're mentioning here, like if you're a plumber and one of the most common reasons people are asking you to come out is to fix their sink, write an article about how to fix your sink or fixing sink 101, right? These types of pages will help reach your audience in your area when they're searching for you and educate them, which is going to build trust with your audience. So you'll want to answer their frequently asked questions, even if those are verbal questions that they come up with and ask you when you're there in person. Use that for fodder to come up with topics for blogs on your page. And if you're like, I just don't know about any of this, we are so here to help you. Bigbadmarketing.com. We'll help you create a blog strategy and then get it up and running. We'll even produce the blogs for you in your brand voice.
Yep, absolutely. So this can feel like a lot. SEO is a lot, and there are literally professionals who refer to themselves as SEOs, and this is what they do for a living. So it is complicated. It is ever evolving and changing. And I think it used to be a valid strategy to just tackle SEO and not worry about any of your other marketing channels. But in the past couple years, especially as the marketing landscape evolves, you really do have to have a multi-pronged approach. So you need to be leveraging the other channels like social media, email marketing, building your list on your own website, maybe leveraging the paid media, maybe looking at physical print advertisements. But there is a big need to look holistically at your marketing efforts and not over index on SEO because it's become a more volatile channel. Not to say you still can't use it and be successful in it, especially if you're a local business. I think SEO is rewarding local small businesses and bloggers and influencers and people who are giving their honest opinion on things. They're being rewarded in the SERP right now. But it really needs to be as part of a broader marketing strategy and not a standalone effort.
Yeah, marketing is, I like to refer to it as an ecosystem. Like think about under the ocean and you have or anywhere really, like you have predators and then you have the ones in between and then you have the plants. And the plants are taking energy from the sun and it's all feeding into itself. It's a big system. And if you only focus on one thing, you're missing out on everything else. But also the whole ecosystem can't survive. It needs each piece in place.
Yes, so let SEO efforts be part of that broader ecosystem, and we are happy to help you figure out what that looks like.